At long last, the holiday movie reviews is coming to an end, and what better way than to talk about a movie that a lot of people love, fans and moviegoers alike, but the critics just seems to hate. And what movie that is? It's Ernest Save Christmas, starring Jim Vernus, and the film pretty much focused on the theme of Santa Claus. And unlike most films that came out through the time, most holiday films related to Santa Claus that came out at the time, this one was actually different because Santa Claus is more of a symbol and not an actual person. And surprisingly enough, it works well with this movie. It is pretty much the main stronghold of this film. Santa Claus needs to find a replacement. He needs to find a replacement before the 24th, 7 p.m. Otherwise, his powers um, phase away. And he's pretty much so far going smooth sailing, doing what he had to do. Unfortunately, his his companion, happens to be Ernest P. World, and Ernest oftentimes makes situations a lot more worse than what it is. In this situation, we have Ernest picking up Santa Claus after being chased down by a bunch of guys. He had accidentally destroyed their property once he was driving ridiculously fast to get to the airport, scaring the daylights out of one of his passengers, uh, and basically throwing him into a chute. That's not bad enough. He picks up a teenage runaway, and with those three combined, they pretty much everything slowly begins to take shape. Santa Claus situation doesn't seem to go too well because his sack is missing now. He's nowhere near his reindeers, which is in storage near the airplane, near the airport storage area. Everything seems to go wrong, and Ernest is up to Ernest and um, his teenage companion, Hamani, to pretty much come to Santa aid and get him to complete his mission before 7 p.m. 7 p.m. hits. A lot of stuff happens between that. A lot of annex ensues. A lot of fun moments, touching moments, moments that makes you think happen. But a lot of stuff is going on, leading to that climactic ending, which either you're gonna like or you don't like. Um, Now, without going into any details, I'm just gonna tell you right now. A lot of critics hated this film for a lot of reasons, and I'm gonna be honest with you. Some of the reasons they did hate this film is pretty much justified, especially after watching this film again. I can see it now from a more of adult perspective why a lot of critics seem to be on this film. One of the things about this film, and I'm going to get the negative out the way real quick because I want to get to a lot of positive because I still believe the positive outweigh the negative in many, many ways. Um, the negative is this. Jim Vargas have created a character that is still to this day a popular character. There's no one that's ever going to be Ernest. Pretty much, this character died with the actor. And to me, he's always going to be forever cemented at Ernest. Ernest was pretty much um, a commercial gimmick, which turned into something more. He ended up having specials. His first movie, which was actually surprising, the darkest out of all the Ernest films, didn't even have the Ernest name. It was basically all his characters, including Ernest P. Worrell. But this character has evolved to the point where it's just basically his face is imprinted. That's it. With that being said, I think the strength of the actor who played this character, his weakness were trying to force a lot of stuff that didn't need to be forced, mainly the jokes. There was a lot of misses in this movie, as well as a lot of hits. It pretty much evened itself out. Um, and I've noticed a lot of times, especially with the other films, that this happens a lot when he's forcing a joke on other characters because he's playing other characters in the movie. I think the best one he played was when he plays the old lady with the messed up neck all the time with a brace on her neck. That seemed to be the only one I actually liked in this film. Every other character in this film that he played, I didn't care for at all. And that was largely because he was forcing the joke. He is forcing a lot of stuff that he don't need to be forced, and oftentimes that can hurt the film. Another thing is that the critics hate that you gotta suspense your belief. A lot of stuff that's happening in this film, you really gotta basically say, okay, this is an earnest film. Do not look for realism in this film. A lot of stuff is happening that is just way out there. Way just basically this happened. Even the scene, and I think the one that really turned off a lot of critics was when Ernest dressed up as a person who was from the mayor's office, and for reasons he don't understand, he brought his niece to go into the jail. I'm not talking about just waiting for the person to go in. He went in the jail with prisoners. That will never happen in any kind of facility. That's one. And two, they able to call somebody to confirm this guy is from the mayor's office. They won't just let somebody in just because they have a suit and tie. So that part right there, I can say, yeah, they went a little overboard in there. I just felt they had to get him out. They had to get the guy out somehow, and that's the only way they can get him out during that time. And I really that was the thing I understand. That was the thing that I understand a lot with this film. A lot of forced jokes that didn't work, and just suspension of the belief. I think they expected a little bit more realism with this film. But you got to remember, this is Ernest. To look for some type of realism in any shape or form is just not going to happen. This is his type of comedy, but it works for this film. And a lot of stuff that did work, I'm going to tell you right now, the story and the acting and the jokes that did work. I think as Ernest the character, I enjoy seeing him. He does tend to do some stuff that just basically want to pull your hair out, but he doesn't do it for the sake of doing it. There's always good intentions what he's doing, especially when he's trying to give a Christmas tree to Vern. It just always ends up bad. But that's what makes Ernest so good. That's what makes him so good, because he is that kind of a character. Is a kind of a clutch, but in the end, he does have a good heart. He wants to do the right thing, and that's what makes that character so good. But most importantly, I think the acting in this movie was well rounded. I actually did enjoy the performance of everyone in this film. It was a very, very good film. I actually did enjoy the action, especially with the teenage girl and Santa Claus. They had the best interaction, especially when Santa Claus is telling the teenage girl Harmony about her dilemma, about what describing what she is, and you can tell by her facial motion how she was getting, and that was something that she did not expect to happen, nor she didn't felt to confront. And that character is constantly fighting herself to try to do the right thing. She wants to do the right thing, but there's always that temptation. Of course, in the end, she does do the right thing, and she does eventually redeem herself in this film. But you knew you knew she was gonna redeem herself. But it was definitely that kind of a character that you can see that conflict that she was going through. And I think with Santa Claus, when he confronted her in his own way, it really the emotion she was showing really was very, very good. It was actually well done. She wasn't a paper thin character. I actually thought they did a good job with her. I don't know if she did any other films. From what I understand, she really didn't go far in acting, but for that most part, it was good. The comedy that worked. The pacing was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. It worked it well. It picked up when it needed to be picked up, and it did a very, very good job at that. The opening credits, okay, granted, I'll give the critics this. It was definitely a Pepsi commercial credits, but I still loved the way it matched well with the movie. I actually liked it to see those pictures. Granted, you kind of wish that Pepsi was not there, but they got to do product placement somewhere, and it really wasn't that much of product placement in the film, so I can live with that. So. But other than that, I thought, just in general, the story was very good. And the fact is that they actually done something that really not many films have done before. They made Santa Claus into a symbol. Anybody can be Santa Claus if they have the heart and the will. And it takes a special kind of person to be Santa Claus. That's why he was hoping that that Jim will take over as the new Santa Claus. Joe, I'm sorry, to take over as the new Santa Claus because he's seen the goodness. I mean, he sees the pure heart of him. He wants to do the right thing, and in the end, he actually did take the job. And how they made that transaction, it was pretty good. I actually liked it. There were some effects that were shoddy, but not to the point where it was distracting. I think that emergency crash landing when they said air brakes really really annoyed me a little bit. That was not even a funny joke, but it is what it is. In the end, it really worked out fine. I actually thought the film really did a good job um, presenting the story well. So I don't have a problem with the story. I thought the story was good. It's very wholesome. It's on good fun, and I think the critics need to line up a little bit. Yeah, there's a lot of suspend your belief moments in this film. Yeah, the jokes can be a little bit forced, but the jokes that did worked for me well. The pacing was okay, the acting was okay, but most importantly, the story was very, very good. I really did like the fact they took a different turn of this holiday film, and to show you how important this film is. If you watch Santa Claus, it is actually a carbon copy of Ernest Save Christmas. The theme of passing the torch, Tim Allen becoming Santa Claus, that actually is a blueprint coming right straight from Ernest Save Christmas. So keep in mind, if you look at Ernest Save Christmas, look at that film, and then look at Santa Claus with Tim Allen, you can see the connection there a little bit. That's how good that story is. In all, I'm giving it 3 stars. It is one of the better 80s holiday films that came out. Sadly enough, 1 year later, they came out with another Ernest film that I deemed the worst of the series, but I'll get to that later. Did it